I'm Therese Winnington. I'm owner of T.Lewis Real Estate and Design here in Nashville, Tennessee.
I'm David Lewis, and I am the owner and designer of Gillies Gear LLC, which is a apparel company. Well, Therese and I met online. We met on Match.com. I won't get into the long version of the story, but we did meet, and she had wowed me with this beautiful black dress that she had on, and the coffee date lasted more than 30 minutes. It went 3 hours, and then when we had our real first date after that, we kind of realized what she did and what I did. Her comment to me was that she, as a bachelor, had a really killer sharp knives, leather couches, and a game unit, but really cool art and really cool taste. And again, I think that stems from my background of being raised with a mother that did part-time interior decorating, having a high-end women's boutique for 28 years, and a sister that was in fashion design as well, and a father that taught me how to hunt and fish. So I took my passion and my love for the outdoors and sportsman world and wanting to be the next Ralph Lauren. So I'm taking both of those worlds and merging them together.
And I will say, I think we complement each other quite well, both being creative types. David pushes me in my interior design. I feel that I help push David in different directions in his apparel line as well. So it's one of those things, it's not work. It's actually fun to work together and come up with creative visions, and
yes,
we each push each other in very different directions. My background is not interior design. I grew up in a real estate family. Always had a passion for the arts and creativity, but on a budget, and learning how to make things really unique and fun, but without spending an arm and a leg.
Yes, I will emphasize the word unique and fun. And eclectic, I would say, eclectic.
Yeah. Well, it either comes naturally, it doesn't. Like you said, some people can't work together. I think we're very similar minded. I think our visions are very similar, so it's easy to work together. I will say we do argue. A lot of times he'll say, I don't like it, and then I'll do it and it goes, wow, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it's healthy though. I mean, and again, I think it's really odd too, because we're both Taurus, or Taurians as the proper word would be, that you have to kind of respect the boundaries of, you're not always going to have the exact same taste, but again, I think it's that balance that you have of trying to find the uniqueness in each project that she works on is uniquely different from the next. I mean, she'll go from boho chic to rock and roll glam to traditional elegant. And again, her style is completely different than anything that you would see in a restoration hardware magazine or a pottery barn magazine. So I definitely think that, it's a good sounding board, so you have that vision. There are couples that are completely opposite, introverted versus extroverted, or maybe one designer not having a designer, that they might not get that couple or that partner. So I think that's the nice thing about it.
I will say also, between us both being Tauruses and stubborn bulls, I think it's good that we know how to stay on our ground. If you don't agree with me, you don't agree with me. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it anyway. Same with him. But also, we have a 4-year-old child, and having brought our child into the mix, McGavick has basically grown up in a creative realm, came home from the hospital, went right into a project. And he has his own opinion too. He's another Taurus. If he doesn't like a rug and I'll put it down, Mommy, I don't like that rug, it doesn't work. So he's already engaged in the business. I started my own brokerage in 2018 after having been in the business over 10 years for real estate. I also started into doing interior design with my own flips personally, and kind of grew a following from that. Because it was my own property, I kind of did what I wanted and didn't care about mainstream or selling to the masses. So what I quickly found was there was this niche and need for doing unique, different things. People actually really engaged it quite well. But the brokerage not only is just a real estate brokerage for buying, selling, residential, commercial, but I also have a property management component to my business all through Nashville, and also I'm licensed in Alabama, so Huntsville, Alabama as well. So each day has different challenges. David will agree, my business is not an easy one or for the faint of heart. Lots of demands, but I've got a good partner who's willing to allow me to go pursue my dream, just like I help him to pursue his. So.
Awesome. And go ahead and get into yours.
So I again mentioned that I actually when I was 15, I wanted to be the next Ralph Lauren, but taking both my passions for hunting and fishing and for design, I finally had an opportunity back in the late 90s and had an invention that I invented the waterproof zipper for a fishing wader, and turned out and started this high-end fly fishing apparel manufacturing business, starting with waders and wading jackets and sweaters, et cetera, and after about 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, we won Best New Apparel Design at Fly Fishing Retailer Awards. And then 9/11 happened, went back into surgical sales, and Therese had kind of pushed me a year or two ago to relaunch the brand because there was a lot of demand for it. Ironically, randomly phone calls and texts and tweets. So we relaunched the company as COVID was hitting, and here we are, and now we're making some giant strides to turn it into a giant lifestyle brand of apparel. Say it in one word. Color.
No, what makes my company unique is I'm very passionate about my clients. I have clients that started with me and are still with me, and their family members have come to me. It's growing with the client and the changing needs of the client, and they basically become family. That's my goal in business. I don't need to be the biggest dog out there. I don't need to be the most famous dog out there. But my goal is to build a business that I really engage and am tied to my clients and offer them everything that I can.
I've just noticed over the past couple of years, no matter if it's my specific niche or just in general, like everyday lifestyle apparel, everything is becoming so copycat. Everything's become so blasé. It's very cookie cutter. And so my vision 20 years ago when I had the brand and up to now to the relaunch is that I want it to be uniquely different, functional, smart, and something that someone would be very excited to search out and to put on their body.
For my business, especially in the property management real estate component, I would say I am hands-on. If you want a quick answer, you get me. You don't get an assistant. You don't get somebody else in the company who can't really make a split-second decision. I am always available for my clients. My husband will vouch for that. But being a smaller guy, I get to make decisions that actually really affect people's lives, especially in the property management business. A lot of people, larger companies, will only be able to make certain decisions if it fits in a certain box. I can say, okay, this person's had some difficulties, and I can see the story and hear their story and then make a decision based on that. It's really one-to-one in the fact that I'm still small. Allows me to make these decisions and actually get on the phone with my clients when hard times happen. They get the answer from me, and I'm the one who has to attest to it. So.
Again, I kind of take it, my style and how I've always been as my own personal style, our interweb style. And I look back, and as I'm relaunching this brand and looking at what I did 20 years ago, and I'm watching the same competitors that I had 20 years ago that are still now industry giants, I still like the position that I'm going to be in and again, I'm going to use it and combine it with T.Lewis Real Estate Design and Gillies, is the uniqueness, the small batch, the attention to detail, that's been overlooked by some of the bigger companies. Instead of just having mass-produced jackets or sweaters or something like that, is just the little attentions to the detail. And again, my old tagline was, you know, Gillies Gear, gear for the good life. I still believe that there is, you know, a lot of good life and good times and good fishing and hunting and outdoor activities to be. So I want those clients to enjoy their trips or their vacations or you know, their experiences without getting sopping wet or freezing cold. So again, uniqueness, attention to detail, and just having that personal touch to it. I think the one thing that, well, there's a lot of things that I love about Therez's design, but the one thing that I love about her is that she has this John Wayne-esque of shooting from the hip. And a lot of designers went to school and they have their Pantone books and their sketch pads. Therez can walk into a room and it's lights it up just with this savant type technique. And I'll sometimes bat an eye, I'm like, I can't figure out what you're doing. And then within a week, a day, an hour, this blank canvas turns into a masterpiece. Things that she can recognize without a tape measure with a naked eye is probably my favorite thing that I love about it. And I can go to room to room to room in this house and many of the projects that I've seen or worked with her on, that it does. And it just still, sometimes I'll quietly sit, have a cup of coffee when she's not around, and I'm looking and going, God, how the hell did she figure that out? Or what made her brain produce this? Because it's the most gorgeous thing or the most functional thing that we have in our home. So that's one of my favorite things about Therez, is her keen eye for detail and just uniqueness.
I would say the thing about David is his passion and his drive. Gillies Gear is a brand that basically, when you get Gillies Gear, you get David Lewis in every piece and article. His heart is there. He is one of the most giving people I've ever met, but one of the most knowledgeable too. This is a man who launched a brand 20 years ago and was in Forbes magazine for all these creative things that he came up with. This is a man who never stops. He's always thinking and coming up with something new. He's not afraid to go outside of the norm. Like, he did a very streetwear apparel vest this year in his line, which was awesome. Not everybody that is in the hunting and fishing world wants your plain Jane, jack of all trades, green, gray, beige article of clothing. So that's one of the things that really excites me in his line, is those out of the box type pieces that, believe it or not, that whole industry is just begging for. So I really give respect to him in doing that in a very standard type, normal apparel type line.
People. No, everybody, you know, it's the old adjective, and I'm just going to get really raw with you. You know, everybody has an opinion and something else with it. But I think the biggest thing is you have to leave your ego at the door. No matter how old you are, no matter how accomplished you are, no matter how of an expert you are, I think that you have to always be willing to listen to your gut, listen to your clients' wants and desires, and listen to the masses. Just because I want to design something so specific and so what I think might be perfect might not be the golden goose that, you know. In her world, it's the kind of the same thing, is that not everybody's going to have such an eclectic chic taste or an eccentric taste like she and I have. Some people are going to be very plain Jane or vanilla. So I think that is listen and check your ego at the door is my biggest advice I can give to anybody. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do, because you might have all these accolades or trophies or articles or videos or whatever, and you think you know everything. But I am, at my age, I always, and she might not agree with me, but I like to try to listen and learn as much as I possibly can. And I like to learn from my boo-boos too.
Yeah, I would say in my business, one of the biggest strengths that I've learned is not to say yes to everything. Don't be afraid to lose a client or a deal. Be willing to walk away if it's not a good fit. And that was one of the hardest things for me, since I am such naturally a pleaser. I want to please everybody. You have to know when you can't, and when it's not good for you or healthy for your boundaries. I think watching each other grow. You know, the most rewarding thing in business is growth or success. And the process to get there is not easy. It's daunting, it's time consuming, and with a 4-year-old, it has its own challenges. But I mean, seeing each other grow and the success for each company is truly the reward. But the bigger reward is the growth as the person, and the changes that it can make in the person, and the knowledge, and just the ability to adapt, I think, has been rewarding.
That has actually been my favorite thing, is to watch her. Actually, the last video that y'all did for that party, I remember what I said to you when we were moonlight dancing to our wedding song, was just to watch her over the past 7 years evolve into this beautiful butterfly, and coming out of the shell of where when I first met her was been the most amazing thing for me to see that. Personally, my favorite little thing is sketching an idea or having that aha moment, and then you write it down, you draw it, sketch it, you know, and it's that build up, and then all of a sudden the final product comes and lands from some factory far, far away, and you open it, and then your chicken scratch turns into this wow. And then when someone actually calls or writes a letter to you and says, this is the most comfortable or the coolest thing that I've ever adorned, that's my thump on my chest. Like, that's what gets my blood flowing, is that, like, wow, I woke up in the middle of the night, wrote something down, built this idea, and then someone actually thinks it's the coolest or the most comfortable thing they ever worn. That, to me, that's cool. That's funny that you should ask that. So I've read and I've studied other creative and more famous couples, the two, and it differs from family to family, whatever your style works with. There's no work-life balance in our life. Our work life and our love life and our home life, our extracurricular, everything is one. I would not know how to have it any other way. The organized chaos in both her life, my child's life, my personal life, and my work life is all melted. It's one big glob of glue that works for us. But if you try to, we banter about getting organized, but
I feel like the organization, I lose creativity. I know that's terrible.
No, that's your...
Part of my creativity is the chaos.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's like a Pollock painting. It works for us. However, I will say, for the workhorse that she is, and I call her a Swiss Army knife. Her layers are different tools that she in her business, but the one knife is the main blade of her tool is a mom and a wife or a partner, that's her strength. The cool thing about, we mentioned earlier too, is that our little son is actually getting to see two worlds. He's getting to see building, designing, interior, exterior, landscaping, social media. He's getting to see hunting, fishing, apparel, design,
And he gives a killer house tour.
He does give a killer house tour. So but it is, we're a 24/7, balls to the wall, 9,000 miles an hour. This is who we are. Fun, passion, and rock and roll. I would honestly say the one that blew my mind to this day, that I just recently told the story, was when the windows on the Gavics house, the outdoor exterior windows, the sunroom got messed up on that Sunday, and it was a you-know-what show, and everybody was bewildered, and you just sat there with no tape measure and looked at this wall and said, no, 1, 2, 3, and the contractors were like, there's no way that those are gonna fit, and you had it down. You weren't even off by an inch from standing 20 feet away on both sides of an old house that was built in the 30s. That blew my mind. It was like you're like the ancient pyramids. I almost wanted to put you on Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste something, especially if it's paid
No,
for.
it was to the point where everybody, these contractors, were measuring a wall, and there was like no way that and she's like, no, they'll fit perfectly, 1, 2, and 3, and they measured them out, and literally she was on point by an inch. That blew my mind. That would probably be one of my favorite stories. She loves a good kitchen and she loves a good bathroom. That's probably your two.
And I love being told, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite project for David is what's coming in the custom waiters that he's getting back into. I'm very excited for that. It's such a unique thing in a marketplace where nobody is a standard size. And unfortunately, most gear companies cater towards a standard size. It leaves out the people who are tall, short, larger, you name it. So when you have something custom so that everybody can be a part of something, I think that's really killer, and I'm really excited for that chapter of his business. I'm gonna go back to McGavick Pike on the river in an old house that was a hot mess. And figuring out architecturally and structurally how to create the vision of ripping out a whole second floor, vaulting ceilings, having a hallway to nowhere, kind of like the haunted house in Disneyland, and how to create a space, do a dormer out the back so you could have a master suite out, incorporate a French spiral staircase, figure out how to get 2 bedrooms down with a bathroom in between, and an open kitchen concept that was hindered by basement stairs down. And how to pull this all off and turn a sunroom into living space.
By living in a van down.
Oh, by living in somebody's like Winnebago while doing construction. So I would say my favorite project was my first big challenge, because from there you learn a lot, right? And then you have your layers and you have your style, and then you take your risk because you're comfortable. But the first big project I think would be my favorite because we got through it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to follow your suit. I think the start, again, of not being classically trained and going to designer school, whatever, but having this epiphany or dream or vision on a bar napkin, and then turning it into a reality in a company, and then taking and find pre-internet, trying to find, and doing the research, finding the designers, putting it together, layering it, colorization, and just having, I don't know, this internal knowledge of how to finding sourcing, finding fabric, and getting to a trade show, and then eventually, building an award-winning product, taking sewing lessons at Joanne Fabrics with a bunch of church ladies. There's something to be said about that, like to actually build an outerwear product that not having any knowledge of even having to thread a needle and to be able to produce that, I think and getting an acclaimed award for it is fun. So to do that all over again is going to be exciting.